I'm Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Tonight, governors of the South-South meet in Port Harcourt to launch security outfit. Also agree to join Rivers' lawsuit on value-added tax. Some cheery news as resident doctors suspend 2-month-old strike. Hinging decision on the presidency's intervention. Coalition of northern groups back their governors. Oppose zoning of political offices. Say it's a plot to stop the North from contesting 2023 presidency. And more denials by world leaders over alleged offshore accounts secretly operated. At least 35 current and former leaders are linked to it. Plus, international news from our London studio. Thank you for joining us. Governors of states in the South-South region of the country today rose from their meeting in Port Harcourt with far-reaching decisions, which according to them are critical to the survival of the region. Top among their resolutions is an agreement to establish a regional security outfit to tackle insecurity in the area. They also resolved to join the suit by Rivers State on the collection of value-added tax. The decisions were read out by the chairman of the South-South Governors Forum and Governor of Delta State, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa.
They are not just political leaders of the South-South. They are also chief executives of their various states elected under the platform of the People's Democratic Party. They are gathered in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, for one common reason: to fashion out policies that will take care of their common interest. One of the issues at stake is the collection of value-added tax.
Unequivocally supports the decision for states to collect value-added tax and resolve to join the suit before the Supreme Court.
The South-South governors also agreed to set up regional security jointly owned by the South-South states, and details of its operations and funding is to be unveiled at the launch of the security outfit at a date to be decided by the leaders.
Bearing in mind that most of the BRICS states have established their state security organs, we approve the regional security architecture, which will be launched very soon.
The governors take advantage of the meeting to appeal to the federal government, the National Assembly and the Niger Delta Development Commission to review some aspects of the Petroleum Industry Act, which they say is inimical to the economic advancement of the South-South region.
Council urged the President and the National Assembly to take necessary measures to review some unfair aspects of the recently signed Petroleum Industry Bill Now Act to ensure fairness and equity. It urged that the amendment should include a clear definition of host communities and that the trustees should be appointed by state governments. Council called upon the President and the federal government to uphold the law establishing the Niger Delta Development Commission by appropriately constituting its board.
One of the governors of the South-South states, Cross River State, Professor Ben Ayade, who recently defected to the All Progressives Congress from the PDP, was absent, and no reason was given to the media for his absence. But one thing is clear: the governors of the South-South who are present at this meeting are determined to push the decisions taken here to come to fruition.
Patients in public hospitals around the country may now have some respite as members of the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors have conditionally suspended their 2-month-old strike. President of the association, Dr. Godiya Ishaya, told journalists at a news conference in Abuja that the suspension is a majority decision by members after their meeting on Sunday to review the progress made to address the impasse. According to him, if the issues that led to the strike remain unaddressed, the association will reconvene a meeting after 6 weeks of the suspension.
After critical appraisal of the performance of both federal and state government on all the issues that led to the ongoing strike as stated above. Progress made in implementing previous agreement reached with the federal government, the intervention of His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Vice President, the Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, NEC resolved by vote of a simple majority to suspend the total and indefinite strike action embarked upon on 2nd August 2021. Therefore, our members will resume full work on Wednesday, 6 October 2021 by 8 a.m. The NEC urged the federal government to reciprocate the good faith and trust shown by the association by ensuring the following: continuous processing and payment of the ongoing 2021 and 2020 medical residency training fund. If after that 6 weeks there is no meaningful progress, we'll still have to revert back to the National Executive Council, and those issues will still be considered and appropriate position will be taken.
And to the judiciary, the Supreme Court has reserved judgment in the suit filed by the Attorneys General of the 36 states, seeking an order compelling the federal government to take up funding of capital projects of states' high courts, Sharia courts, and customary courts of appeal. The states also want an order compelling the federal government to pay them the sum of 66 billion naira, being an amount so far expended on capital expenditure for the 3 courts in their states.
Some senior advocates of Nigeria and other lawyers at the Supreme Court for the case to determine who should fund capital expenditures of state high courts, Sharia courts, and customary courts of appeal. A former president of the Nigerian Bar who represented the Attorneys General of the 36 states, senior advocate of Nigeria Augustine Alege, submitted that the 3 courts are courts of the Federation and funding their capital projects should flow from the consolidated revenue of the Federation. He argues that the salaries and emoluments of the judges of the 3 courts are paid by the federal government and stressed that Section 81 of the 1999 Constitution should be invoked to place the responsibility of funding capital projects on the federal government. Mr. Alege's partner speaks further on the issue.
Now, over the years, particularly starting from 1999 up to this moment, the practice is that funding for the judiciary relating to the current expenditure has been borne by the federal government, leaving out capital expenditure, and that responsibility has been pushed over to the states. So the states have now woken up to say, no, you have wrongly passed responsibility which belongs to you, to us.
Counsel to the Attorney General of the Federation, senior advocate of Nigeria Tijani Ghazali, vehemently opposes the suit on the grounds that the section invoked is silent on funding capital expenditures for the states, even though the issue of salaries was stated as the responsibility of the federal government in the Constitution. He insists that this should be maintained.
On the substance of the matter, we are of the view that federal courts are different from state courts. It is the state's responsibility to take care of state high court, customary court of appeal, and Sharia court of appeal, and for the federal government to take care of Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, National Industrial Court, Federal High Court, FCTI Court. So they are shifting the responsibility to us, and we are saying no, it is their responsibility.
3 of the 5 friends invited by the court were in support of the suit for funding, while the other 2 aligned themselves with the Attorney General of the Federation.
For me, it is an innovation, it is a commendable one, and that we must begin to implement it such that judiciary will no longer be at the beck and call of a governor or of a president.
As you know, it has some perspective under which each one can see the interpretation. I adopted certain interpretation of law which did not allow me to align with them from the authorities cited, and the position of the law is as interpreted by and submitted to the court.
After listening to all the parties, Justice Mohammed Dattijo reserved judgment to a later date.
To navigate Nigeria's political terrain, you require experience and funding. And though everyone, young and old, is invited to the table, as age does not determine the level of competence an individual has to govern. These were the sentiments of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and the former chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Adams Oshomole, at the launch of a book in Abuja.
It is my honor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Do you remember the group of governors that President, my very dear friend, big brother, President Olusegun Obasanjo called OWAFE governors, who took taxpayers' money, flew to London to go and celebrate the birthday of a young governor? This is 1999. This is not 1960. Sorry, 1999, not 1960, not 1970. These were young people. I think it is very dangerous for us to reduce governance and issues in government to the question of what is your age, even the question of what is your gender.
For the Vice President, the partisan politics practiced in Nigeria may not have delivered on its promises. And while that is being worked on, young people will do well to gather as much experience as possible to occupy a political office.
If you are going to deal in the Nigerian system, in this system of ours, to work through all that is required to be any, I think you need some experience. You need a bit of experience. You don't have to be very old, but it helps if you served in one capacity or the other as a special advisor, special assistant, whatever. All of those positions are very central positions. And I don't agree, unfortunately, that a special assistant or PA is somewhat, you know, it's not a very serious position. It is. Every special assistant that we have, these ones I have, all of them take very important decisions, and they take those important decisions on their own.
Staying with politics, the coalition of northern groups is kicking against position, describing it as unconstitutional and a plot to stop the North from contesting the presidency in the year 2023. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, spokesperson of the group, Mr. Abdulaziz Sulaiman, says the group aligns with the position of the Northern Governors Forum and asks the political parties to jettison the idea of zoning.
We find the renewed desperation by the South to threaten northern people's right to franchise, a deliberate attempt to bastardize democracy, cause greater instability in the guise of a contentious and democratic power shift arrangement, and therefore downright unacceptable. The CNG, after due consultation with prominent stakeholders, leaders and elders, has categorically resolved to firmly and solidly align completely with the position taken by the Northern Elders Forum as expressed by Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed and that of the Northern Governors Forum, that zoning of elective positions is unconstitutional, undemocratic, and must be jettisoned. For the avoidance of doubt, therefore, the CNG hereby declares that the North, a major stakeholder in whatever happens in and to Nigeria, shall not be obliged to respect any zoning arrangement of any elective position in whatever party.
In part 2, after the break, Anambra Police Command encourages officers and men to be on high alert following recent attacks by bandits. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 live from Channels Television Lagos. And here's a reminder of our main stories. Governors of the South meet in Port Harcourt to launch security outfit. Resident doctors suspend 2-month-old strike. Hinge decision on the presidency's intervention. Coalition of northern groups back their governors. Oppose zoning of political offices. And more denials by world leaders over alleged offshore accounts secretly operated by them. And more calls have continued for the federal government to not only tag bandits who abduct and kill innocent Nigerians in the northwest and north-central regions of the country as terrorists, but also deal decisively with the criminals. The Senate Minority Leader, Senator Naya Abaribe, in an exclusive interview with Channels Television's political correspondent on our political paradigm, says tagging them terrorists is the right thing to do. He also spoke about the 2023 presidential election.
Now, this government were very quick to tag the separatists and people who were doing agitation in the southeast terrorists, because they know the implication of tagging anybody a terrorist. And every effort being made to say, why these people who are doing all these things in the northeast, in the northwest, and so forth, why wouldn't you also designate them so that the full weight of international opprobrium will land on them? And every effort is made to, beautify the word and say it's bandits. But then this set of people have been able to shoot down a military aircraft. And so it's no longer that they are just people who are doing kidnapping for ransom.
Your name had come up in conversations as a possible candidate for your party in 2023. Should that lot fall on you? What would you do?
I would, if it falls on me. Within 6 months, all these things will be a thing of the past.
For more on that interview with the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Naya Abaribe, watch Political Paradigm tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Channels Television and a repeat at 11 p.m. In the meantime, the Commissioner of Police in Anambra State has asked men under his command to be resolute and resist further attacks in the southeast state. Mr. Tony Olofu said this during a tour of the places attacked in Nnewi on Sunday, promising to putting the necessary logistics in place to ensure that. The walls of the building of the Department of State Services in Nnewi, Anambra State, still bear the marks of an attack on Sunday afternoon. The interior looks worse. Nothing here is left untouched. The building, the vehicles. The Commissioner of Police in the state is on a tour for an on-the-spot assessment of the situation. The soot on the walls and pillars of this house gives an indication of the activities of arsonists. A walk inside shows even more damage than the exterior reveals. This is what is left of the house of the Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Drainage and Water Resources, Joey Bukwe, who hails from Nnewi. The destruction is massive. The home of a former Minister of National Planning as well as Finance, the late Chu Okongu, and the vehicle within the premises of the Federal Road Safety Corps were also torched, and both now under lock and keys. The police boss promises that this will never happen again.
We strategize with my men to ensure that it will never happen again. In view, we are reinforcing all our deployments across the state. More men have been received, from the Inspector General of Police. Tactical teams are being deployed to reinforce the security architecture and make sure that we begin to get results. We will definitely go after them and we will definitely get them.
Calm has returned to the community now. The police may have to match words with action to forestall a reoccurrence. Let's now go over to our Abuja studio for more on the news at 10. Hello, Gloria. What's the news mill been like in Abuja today?
Hello, Bukola. We'll begin with major social media services. Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp have been hit with by massive outage affecting potentially tens of millions of users around the world, including those in Nigeria. Outage tracker Down Detector showed outages in heavily populated areas such as Washington and Paris. Users trying to access Facebook in affected areas were greeted with the message, and I quote, "Something went wrong. We're working on it, and we will get it fixed as soon as we can," unquote. The outage comes a day after a whistleblower went on US television to reveal her identity after a trove of documents was leaked to authorities, alleging that the social media giant knew its products were fueling hate and harming children's mental health. Francis Hugen, a 37-year-old data scientist from Iowa, has worked for companies including Google and Pinterest, but said in an interview that Facebook was substantially worse than anything that she had seen before. Meanwhile, Facebook Incorporated has said it is working to restore access to the social media platforms. The tech giant confirms the outage and assured users that it is working to get things back to normal as quickly as possible. Nigeria's 61st independence anniversary may have come and gone, but good wishes for the future of the nation have not ceased to pour in, with the latest coming from the founder and senior pastor of the Household of God Church, Reverend Chris Okotie. At a Thanksgiving service in Lagos, the televangelist admonished Nigerians and Christians not to give up on the country, in spite of challenges that threaten her nationhood.
It is written, oh, the gates of hell cannot prevail.
From the onset, members of the Household of God Church got caught up in an atmosphere of praise to celebrate Nigeria's 61st independence anniversary.
Will always be true. Oh!
In most aspects of the praise session, the senior pastor of the church, Reverend Chris Okotie, leads the congregation.
Jesus, our Redeemer, born in the God. Lord, we praise you, forever you are God.
Drawing lessons from the life of Abraham, Reverend Okotie reminds worshippers that Nigeria is a called out and privileged nation that's divinely led against any challenge.
If you are discouraged and you stagnate, you become stationary or sedentary, you can never get to your El Dorado. But as long as you motion, as long as you are in motion and you keep moving, the solution is ahead of you. That's it. So that's why 61 years of independence is great, because it means Nigeria is moving.
On the sidelines of the church service, the Reverend makes his message clearer. He describes Nigeria as a unique nation waiting to rebirth.
There's hope for Nigeria. 61 is what we call a numerical portmanteau, because it carries two digits within itself. You have the number 6 and the number 1. You see, that's why it's a portmanteau. So at 61, and so that should be an encouragement. And 6 and 1 put together give us the number 7, which is the number of God, which is rest, which is perfection. You know, so there is hope. It portends good things for Nigeria.
To serve a with love and strength and faith.
And whenever the national anthem is sung, even in churches, a sense of loyalty, purpose and love is rejuvenated. This is the kind of future the church looks forward to for Nigeria.
peace and unity.
When the news at 10 returns, oil prices hit 7-year high as OPEC resists calls for increase in crude production by its members. That's some business news. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. To achieve speedy aviation development in Nigeria, there is need to bridge the gap of sustainable financing for local airlines in the country. This is coming from the Chief Executive Officer of Court Jet International, Captain Toluwa Olorunyomi, at the unveiling of the aviation company in Lagos. Court Jet International is a cross-border aviation consulting entity with a fully integrated specialist service structure.
Building on existing wings while ushering in a new narrative for the aviation industry is the reason behind this gathering.
Please enjoy the vision that Court Jet International.
The brains behind the new company Court Jet International believe it's time to surmount the challenge of a constant mismatch between operational equipment and finance.
The right operational framework combined with very good business model. As we all know, money answers all things, right? So it's not different in the case of these airlines. So when they're given the necessary support, they will thrive and they remain sustainable.
The company describes itself as a cross-border aviation service and consulting entity with a fully integrated specialist service structure that rests on 25 years of combined aviation experience.
We know there are a lot of potentials we have in Africa to boost the GDP of the economy, and we need aviation to push these things. So we are looking at coming to solve problems, identify challenges, proffer solutions, and monitor the progress of these strategies that are being formulated to ensure that they are doing exactly what we have formulated them to do. So
now to the unveiling. With the real gross domestic product rate of air transport increasing by 4.98% in the second quarter of 2021, from a contrast of minus 11.78% in quarter one, Court Jet International says it's here to add value.
They are coming with open arms. Together we rise. They are here to support us as an industry, as a nation, to ensure that we rise to realizing our potentials, to give us opportunities that elsewhere we would not have been able to realize.
The company's other area of interest include brokerage, asset development, and aircraft leasing solutions.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to Bukola in Lagos for more on the news at 10.
Thank you, Gloria. More company news now. 18 young Nigerians will vie for a 50 million naira prize when the 12th edition of reality television series Golden Ultimate Search begins on October the 16th. The finalists, made up of 14 men and 4 women, were revealed at a selection party in Lagos. The return of the television reality series coincides with the launch of a new identity and recipe of the Golden Beer brand.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen,
Nigeria Breweries PLC erupts what appears to be a landmark achievement as it unveils a new design and identity for its iconic beer brand, Golden.
The new branding of Golden.
Supply chain director describes the new look and content as a craft beer.
Craft beer is not just a space for Golden. Brewing craft beer requires an elevated level of skill, heightened attention to the tiniest detail, and laser-focused precision to choose specific hand-selected ingredients.
This is what it takes to brew the new Gulda.
This relaunch by the company coincides with the return of Gulda Ultimate Search. The 12th edition of the reality TV show is tagged Age of Craftsmanship. 20 finalists are revealed in the first instance. These men and women were selected from the regional trials, having gone through the boot camp experience successfully. The 20 contestants have a taste of what they will experience during the reality show, as organizers announced that only 16 will make it into the jungle. 4 are eliminated afterwards.
Head backstage.
However, out of the 4 eliminated contestants, 2 are brought back by the audience after a 24-hour online voting.
For Nigerian Breweries PLC, we have been in operation, committed to Nigeria for 75 years. We are excited. We are going to be celebrating our 75 years. And so this Gulda Ultimate Search that we have themed the Age of Craftsmanship speaks to that endurance, that resilience, and that superior excellence.
A 50 million naira prize, including a new SUV, is at stake for the winner, and some of the contestants are excited to be part of the adventure.
As far as I'm going in there, I'm not coming back empty-handed. I'm coming back with the prize.
It's been a tough journey, but man, I'm excited right now. I don't know what else to say, but thank God for everything.
The Gulda Ultimate Search Season 12 will start airing from October the 16th on DSTV channels 151, 153, 154, as well as Gold TV channel on Saturdays and Sundays from 8 p.m. till 9 p.m.
And up next on the news at 10 is business news, and Anne Nwawudo is standing by to bring us up to speed.
Let's begin business news with oil prices. It has hit 7-year high today, and that's after the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and Allies affirmed the agreement to add only 400,000 barrels of crude in output per day, and that should happen next month. This is coming despite consumer calls for more crude and surge in prices that have threatened economic recovery from the pandemic. International oil price benchmark Brent crude surged 2.5% to settle at $81.26 a barrel. And that happened about 10:40 p.m. local time, while its contemporary, the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures, climbed 2.29% to end at $77.62 a barrel. OPEC, Russia and its allies, known as OPEC Plus, have all been under pressure from big consumers such as United States and India to add extra supplies, as oil prices have now climbed 50% this year. Meanwhile, listed Tier 1 lender Axis Bank says that its third Eurobond offering for $500 million has been oversubscribed by more than 200% on its order book. In a statement released to the Nigerian Stock Exchange today, the bank says the additional Tier 1 Eurobond was priced at 9.1% yield, with a coupon peaking over $1 billion. And that latest Eurobond offer is coming 17 days after the bank issued a $500 million unsecured instrument with a 5-year tenor and a coupon rate of 6.12%, with the interest payable semi-annually in arrears. It's another win for the domestic stock market as it has begun the new month of October with positive sentiments, despite recording 80% decline in volume of transactions. Zini John Mekwa has the details.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. The bullish sentiment has spilled over from last week as the all share index maintains its progress into the 40,000 level, and the market cap inched up at 0.07% to almost 21 trillion naira. The last time we came this close was in February this year, and we could be on our way back to the 22 trillion naira. We'll just watch closely and see what happens. But what we do know for now is that the bull is making bold its dominance. Well, the activity chart is not as green as one would have thought, as the volume has dropped by over 80% to 202 million units traded today, valued at 1.8 billion naira. And this also shows a 75% decrease in value. The Financial Services Council contributed a lot to the bullish sentiment of the day as Fidelity Bank, GTCO and Aviation Holding were very prominent on both the top trades by volume and value for today. Unfortunately, the activities did not lead to a positive movement on the account as the banking was down 0.01%. Same with consumer goods and oil and gas. They lost 0.05% and 0.38% respectively. AXA Mansard led 22 other gainers for the day, and Morrison led 13 others, leaving a positive market breadth at the end of today. Fingers crossed the market will maintain this bullish sentiment. That's the stock market report. Back to you.
And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. It's back to you, Bukola.
Thank you, Anne. President Muhammadu Buhari has called for peace and stability in Ethiopia, where he has been attending the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for another 5-year term. A statement issued by the presidential spokesman, Femi Adesina, says the president promised Nigeria's support for the unity and territorial integrity of Ethiopia, being well aware of the many challenges facing the country. The president told the newly inaugurated prime minister that Nigeria, like many countries, was counting on his leadership to unleash the great economic potential of Ethiopia by expanding investment opportunities, deepening relations, and building trust at home and abroad. And when the news at 10 returns, more world leaders deny operating secret offshore accounts. Welcome back. And on the international scene, world leaders are denying any wrongdoing following a huge leak of financial documents from offshore companies. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. People, states and governments named in a massive leak of financial documents known as the Pandora Papers have been responding to the allegations. Reports that the King of Jordan secretly spent more than £70 million on a property empire in the UK and the US are distorted and exaggerated, that's according to the country's palace. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has rejected the Pandora Papers' findings that the President Vladimir Putin has secret assets in Monaco. The 12 million files, which is the biggest leak of its kind ever, also shows the family of Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta owned 13 offshore companies for decades. They have so far not responded to the allegations. Security has been tightened in a northern Indian town after 8 people died, including 4 protesting farmers. Farmers alleged that clashes erupted after a car from a federal minister's motorcade ran over 2 protesters, a charge the minister denies. Footage shows people gathered around covered bodies and the burnt vehicle that supposedly ran over the farmers. North Korea has restored communication lines with the South months after it cut a cross-border hotline. The move comes days after the country's leader, Kim Jong-un, said he was willing to restore communication as a conditional olive branch. However, Pyongyang also said the restoration of their relationship was dependent on the attitude of South Korean authorities. Fumio Kishida has formally taken office as Japan's new prime minister, succeeding Yoshide Suga, who resigned after just 1 year in office. Mr. Kishida won the race to lead Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party last week. He will face a range of tough issues, including post-pandemic economic recovery and threats from North Korea. He will also hope to help his party regain popularity after its unpopular push to host the Tokyo Olympics. 10 people have died after tropical cyclone Shaheen battered parts of Iran and Oman. Thousands have been evacuated from coastal areas in Oman. Streets in the capital Muscat have been submerged. Shaheen was later downgraded to a tropical storm after it hit land. That's according to a local meteorology service. Footage shows cars in floodwaters in Oman, flooded streets and closed shops. Russia has announced it has successfully test-launched a hypersonic cruise missile from a submarine for the first time. The Defense Ministry has said that the Severodvinsk submarine fired the missile while deployed in the Barents Sea and had hit its chosen target. Low-quality video footage released by the ministry shows the missile shooting upwards from a submarine, its glare lighting up the night sky and illuminating the water's surface. Incredible new drone footage has been released of hot lava streams falling from the cliffs into the sea at La Palma's volcano. Local media reported that the north side of the crater had collapsed late on Sunday, causing a faster flow of lava. It has increased the size of the Spanish Canarian island on the western shore by 30 hectares as lava hardens when it hits the water. And finally, the new James Bond film has smashed UK box office records, grossing more on its opening weekend than any other film in the history of the franchise.
James?
No Time to Die also broke international pandemic box office records, making $119 million in the 54 markets where the film has launched to date. This makes it the first title from a Hollywood studio to crack $100 million without opening in China, the world's second biggest movie market.
Oh, it's just a great relief. It was so important to be able to come and celebrate with all the other cast and crew and to get it into the cinemas, and we're here. And literally a year ago, I didn't think that was going to happen. So.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. 2021 ITO Cup champions Bayelsa Queens are champions of the maiden edition of the Betsy Obaseki Women's Football Tournament. The Bayelsa State-owned women's football team beat reigning Nigeria Women Football League Premiership winners Rivers Angels 4-3 on penalties to clinch the title after a goalless 90 minutes. Watford Football Club have appointed Italian coach Claudio Ranieri as their new manager. Ranieri, who led Leicester City to the English Premier League title in 2016, agreed a 2-year contract with the Hornets to replace the sacked Xisco Munoz. Ranieri takes over with Watford in 15th place in the Premier League after earning 7 points from their opening 7 matches. And that's a wrap on sports news.
That does it on the news at 10 on Channels Television. But before we go, here's the main news again. Governors of the South today met in Port Harcourt to launch a security outfit of the region. They also agreed to join Rivers State lawsuit on value-added tax. And that does it on the news at 10 on Channels Television. Thank you for your company. I'm Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Good night.